So, hello everyone, and welcome officially here to our webinar today. I'm very excited to be speaking to Julien today. Julien is, like me, also from Germany originally, but now lives here in Lisbon, and he offers meditation coaching sessions also at Little Yoga Space. Julien has done over, he says, 10,000 hours of meditation practice. I can't do the maths and how many hours a day that would be. I have no idea, but that sounds like a lot of experience. So I might even call him an expert on meditation. So I'm really looking forward to talking to Julien today about the power of this practice. Julien, is there anything else that you want to say to introduce yourself? So if you just turn your sound on again, and then we can hear you.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah, first, thank you so much for having me, Catherine, and thank you for everyone who joined. I'm really glad to be here and share my experience with you. Yeah, kind of the one sentence I use is, I help people heal emotional wounds and find inner peace. And I lived at a meditation retreat center for 4 years and did hundreds of trainings over many years. And I'm excited to share with you what I learned.
Yeah, great, thank you. So tell me, I know that before you actually found meditation as your kind of healing practice, you tried a few other different types of spiritual practices and actually found yourself rather more confused than kind of supported and helped by them. Can you tell us a bit more about your sort of story that led you to find meditation in the first place? Like, what was it in your life that made you kind of turn to that? And you know, what was the difference in the end? How was meditation helping you, and you know, compared to the other things that you tried before?
Yeah, I have to share that. So I can just start at the beginning, how I got interested in this in the first place. So I just remembered, I think it was when I was 16 years old, I felt like I had become quite a miserable person. And I remember as a child, I just used to be so much more carefree and joyful, and life used to be so much more wonderful. And I felt I had lost that sense, and there was so much suffering I could see around me and within me. And I felt like I need to find a solution within myself. Like, I first need to learn how I can be at peace within myself before I can make the world peaceful. And in the beginning, I mean, what I was trying, or what I was doing a lot, was trying to find meaning in everything or understand everything. So it felt like every experience I made, no matter how small, had like a hidden message, and I need to uncover it. And it just left me so much in my head thinking like, okay, what's the hidden meaning behind everything? And just, I mean, just thinking about it, I feel this like confusion of this analysis paralysis. And then over time, I switched to a more practice that was kind of the opposite, which is to for a short moment, like stop describing, like stop giving meaning to everything that I'm experiencing, because the mind is always creating stories like about any situation. The mind is always judging a situation before it even happened and having a story attached to it. And I saw with time, like, wow, this is actually where the suffering comes from. It's from all the stories that my mind is giving to everything, like, this is good, this is bad. And when I was able to just let go of that for a moment, not need to describe everything, not need to understand everything, and just allow things to be as they are, then I found a peace of mind in that. And in the beginning, it was more gradual, like it was like a small relief. I could find like small relief of all the stories going through my head. But then with time, it became more profound. Like I did this practice, it's called short moments. So it's just for a short moment, we stop describing, or we allow ourselves to not need to know anything, not need to understand anything for a moment. Just letting things be as they are. And it sounds so simple. But what I found is it became so profound because I started to practice that in a while I was experiencing like anger, frustration, or sadness, heartbreak, or even physical pain. And what I discovered is that if I just allow the experience to flow through me, the emotions, without describing it, without giving a name to it, there was no suffering anymore in those experiences. Like they could just, there were feelings, there was energy, but there was no resistance, no negativity in it.
So, you know, you said so much there already that I feel like I want to dive in. I think that everyone can resonate with this kind of need, and I have no idea where this comes from, having to just know what everything is about. Why is this happening? Why is that? I mean, you know, like we start that very early. Why is it? Why is that? Why is that? And we keep asking that question. And there's this, we are conditioned for some reason, wanting to always give meaning to absolutely everything, every experience, every thought, everything that's going on. And so that's quite, well, I don't know, I can definitely relate to that. I would think that's probably, maybe it's a nice way of putting it, because I think it's probably a struggle, this busy monkey mind, and that maybe is something how people describe it, but they might not even kind of know what it is that makes it so busy. So I find that's actually quite interesting to even recognize, well, what are the busy thoughts? What kind of thoughts? And I think a proportion of that, a quite big proportion probably, is this sort of conditioned need that we have to just give an explanation to everything and have a reason behind everything. And yeah, kind of understanding that. And I find that really fascinating.
Yeah.
And I wonder where that comes from. I don't know if you have any like thoughts on that, like why are we conditioned this way?
Yeah, so what I discovered with time, that there was a real discomfort in my experience with not knowing, like not having an answer. And it's like, as a culture, we value knowing something, like describing things, and we don't really value not knowing. Like if I say to someone like, you don't know this, or it's even an insult, right? It's like a negative word, like you don't know something. It's seen as something bad collectively. And the way I started learning about this, like there was a book which was saying it's like the mind is constantly living in this world of thoughts, right? Where we give names to everything. Like this is a lamp, and this is a t-shirt, this is Julien, this is, the mind is always describing these things. And it's like at some point we forget that the stories in our mind are not what reality is, like that they're just like a story of reality, and they're not the truth, they're just an interpretation. And then and there was this practice, like, and it's something very simple anyone can do, is like that I used to do, is to just imagine like I'm I'm like an alien, and it's the first time I'm here on planet Earth, and I've never experienced anything. Like I have never experienced any sound, taste, sensations, and I experienced everything for the first time. And when I did that, like I started to, for example, look at my hand, and I just started to notice things like that I had never seen before, like small details, and I just started to get back in contact again with this like wonder for like simple things that we see like in babies or something, that like so amazed at everything. And then I was like, wow, this is like a miracle. Like I can just move this my hand around, and it's like all these complex things need to happen for my hand to move, and I just do it every day, all the time. We don't even think about it, but it's actually magic. Like it's how does that work? How does that happen? So getting more in touch again with that wondering, instead of like thinking, oh, I already know what a hand is like. And it's like we think because we have a word for something, we know what it is or we understand it. But then I start to see more and more, wow, I don't know. I don't actually know anything. And that was actually a relief, like not needing to know everything. And then I mean, with practice, I just became more and more comfortable with allowing myself to not know, allowing that it's okay to not know. And yeah, I think it's just something that's drilled into us. Like we need to know everything from a smaller age. I think it's in part of our culture, but part of human society. And I don't know exactly what happened, but we seem to have forgotten that the stories in our mind are not the real life.
Yeah. I mean, just listening to that, it sort of feels almost like a relief, you know, like, yes, like I don't need to know anything. And well, how do I do that? I have no idea. But just to imagine a world that would be okay where I just simply don't know something is a relief. And this, you know, it's really a lot of the suffering comes from the expectations that either society or other people have on us, or that we have in ourselves. And it's impossible. It's impossible to meet those expectations. I don't know why we think we can, especially in a world where it's, you know, taking so much bravery to show up on a day-to-day basis just for normal life, never mind to achieve anything. So you've already touched a little bit on you know, some of those negative emotions, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that in your practice you're actually working with that. There is a focus on kind of, I don't know what the right word would be, is get in touch with those or let them be, acknowledge them, and you're kind of using that as a sort of foundation to then discover the more peaceful state. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I'm quite sure I didn't explain that particularly well.
Yeah, it's a great question, because that's, I mean, that's what people usually are most interested in when I speak about it. Like everyone wants to know about like their negative emotions. And it was also my, I guess, biggest surprise in a way was when I was starting this practice, and I was able to like not create a story. Like let's take it as an example, for example, the anger or frustration. And if I would just perceive that like energy, like, or one question I sometimes like to ask people is like, what is this emotion if you don't call it anger? Like, what is anger if you don't call it anger? What is frustration if you don't call it anger? What is stress if you don't call it stress? What is fear if you don't call it fear? And then what happens is like, I used to experience these emotions in a totally new way. Because when the mind already applies that label, like this is anger, or this is stress, or this is fear, then again, we see it through like a filter of like everything we ever learned about fear, like everything we ever learned about anger. And we're not really opening ourselves to the experience as it actually is, to the unfiltered experience. And so what I then started to discover is like, wow, just like a rush of energy moving through my body. And I saw that whereas in the past, maybe I would feel very guilty or negative, and then I was able to kind of experience the emotion free of judgment. And it became a totally new experience. So it's like usually the emotion and the judgment of the emotion, they go hand in hand together. And it's like we don't even know the emotion without that judgment. And yeah, it's a magical process, like where I discovered even beauty in things, like in sadness. If I would feel sad, I wouldn't describe it as that, and I would just perceive it as just like a love or compassion for myself and others, because I didn't have the story around it, and I discovered actually something really beautiful within all my emotions, and that everything I had learned about my emotions, or like that other people had role modeled me about my emotions, wasn't actually the way it was. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you for explaining that a little bit more. It just reminded me of, how we really work a lot with people who deal with chronic pain, and it's also always about the stories. And it's like we feel the pain exactly where we've been told to feel the pain. It's really quite extraordinary to observe, and it's just that this labeling of everything. Okay, so you have arthritis, so off you go, and you're going to be in pain for the rest of your life, or whatever it is. This labeling of things is so unhelpful, and it's about rewriting those stories, changing the narrative. I'm assuming this is not a thing that kind of happens overnight. Can I sort of go, I quite like this idea of the short moment thing that you mentioned at the beginning. I was like, that sounds easy. I can do short moments. But I'm assuming this is kind of a lifelong practice.
Yeah. I mean, actually, when I learned about this in the beginning, I couldn't even do it because my mind was so active. It was like so racing all the time. So when someone said just stop describing for a moment, I couldn't do it because it's like it's like an addiction, basically, to need to know everything constantly. So yeah, it's definitely a practice, and I had great teachers who supported me, because it can be easy to get lost, because I mean everyone in the world is it's like living in this world of stories of their mind, and they all believe everything they're saying, and so it can be hard to do the opposite and to just let the thoughts flow on by. Definitely takes practice, and in my experience, I got great guidance, and that helped a lot.
Yeah, and a teacher, right? So I think that's sort of the value of the teacher has somehow also disappeared a little bit, especially with this whole online world that we now live in. I guess with these practices, it is a kind of it's a lifestyle. It's a kind of change in attitude, mindset, and working with somebody to support you in that process. I think that's quite important, to have somebody there that you can check in with in the process.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, there were so many stories and stuff that I was lost in my mind. I don't know if I would have ever been able to see them if someone wouldn't have pointed them out to me. And it's amazing. Like when I went to this retreat center, or that's also what my clients share now with me. It's like an energy exchange. So sometimes they just come into the room and they just feel like they can be themselves, and they just get more relaxed without me needing to say so many things or explain so many things. So it's like there's like this non-verbal transmission, I feel, where, like, you know, whatever I've been able to be at peace with through my practice, I can support others in being at peace with that themselves, and they can kind of feel that. So it's like, yeah, it's almost like an energy exchange where they can just sense, okay, I can just be as I am. I don't need to know anything. I don't need to do anything. I can just relax. And yeah, it's so amazing how much can happen in that relationship and in that exchange. I have clients who sometimes I meet with them like several times a week, and I can really sense that when they hear this, their life starts to change. And yeah, I feel really privileged that I can do this, and I would have never been able to do this without my teachers. Like, there's nothing special about me or something like that. I just feel really lucky. I had really good people who supported me. Yeah.
So how about we have a little guided practice with you, if you're up for that. I think that would be wonderful to have a little experience of this meditation. So maybe for 15-20 minutes, and people here can get comfortable and join in. And of course, there'll be a recording later as well. So you can always go back to it and practice it as many times as you like. The recording is not going anywhere. So I'm just going to hand over to you and to guide us through practice.
Yeah, look forward to that. So, okay, so I will do kind of a little bit a mixture of different practices that I learned over the year, and it will kind of deepen with time. And you can just listen to my voice, and you don't really need to do anything else. That's all. Okay, so we can start by closing your eyes for a moment. Allowing yourself to just be here for a moment, not needing to do anything, not needing to get anywhere. The mind might be thinking about all kinds of things right now, about what happened today, what will happen later. And that's fine. You can kind of give yourself internally the permission for the next 10 minutes to let go of all concerns of the world, giving yourself some space to just be here with yourself. All the concerns will be taken care of in their own time after this meditation. You can notice how the mind is always tempting to figure something out, trying to get somewhere. And just for a moment, you allow yourself to not need to know anything. Not need to get anywhere. Allowing yourself to just be as you are. Allowing yourself a moment of silence. And you can put your awareness on your body and on your heart and feel whatever is going on there. Feel into your heart. Allowing yourself for a moment to feel into yourself. Without needing to understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling. Just feeling whatever is there. Everything within you is welcome. If there is discomfort within you, restlessness, tension, whatever is there is welcome. Everything wants to be felt, wants to be experienced. You can allow all feelings, all sensations in your body to arise to their full intensity, to flow through you completely. Nothing needs to be changed. The mind is always attempting to control what we are feeling and experiencing. And just for a moment, you allow everything inside of you to be out of control. If there is pain or discomfort, you can allow yourself to feel pain or discomfort. If there's rush of energy or any other sensations, they can all be there. The mind is always attempting to understand something. And just for a brief moment, you can allow yourself to not need to understand anything. Allowing yourself to not know anything. Giving the mind a complete rest. In life, we learn all these stories about who we are and what life is. But who you really are is beyond words. So you can allow for a moment all stories about yourself, all stories about life to fall away. So that's not who you are. To allow yourself to be without a story. Allowing yourself a moment of peace. Okay, and whenever you're ready, you can, in your own time, open your eyes again. Great, thank you.
Thank you. Aside from definitely a calmer mind, it also cooled me down a little bit in this heat. So that was quite a nice little side effect. Thank you for that. Any questions at all? We've got a bit of time. If you, maybe something came up in the practice or from the talk before. Anything you want to ask, feel free to put it in the chat or unmute yourself.
I spent some time writing it beforehand, so maybe it's easier.
Okay.
Great.
So regarding the talk before, regarding labeling, isn't it the case that many people don't even come to recognize the negative emotions they experience in the first place, meaning that they don't feel it in the moment as they redirect their attention to something more positive to begin with, disguising fear, anger into something else less associative? How important is for you or your practice to start from acknowledging, even through a label, to then deconstruct it? Very good question.
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, that's totally the case, that we are not aware most of the time of our emotions, and the mind is so quick even to just push the emotions away. I saw that more and more with my practice, that some of these emotions, they can stay hidden for so long. But yeah, in my experience, it's not necessary to label them. And so what I just do is, like, I just feel the sensation in my body. So, for example, like, let's say there's fear or nervousness, and then I just, maybe there's like a tingling or something in my chest or something like that. But when I don't describe it, then there's just this pure openness in which everything can appear and resolve, and the wish to understand the emotion, the understanding, then wanting to know something, that also comes from the wish to control. And so when I can just allow the energy to flow through me without needing to understand, without needing to control, then I notice that it can flow even better. It can just resolve through me, and it doesn't it doesn't make me less aware. Or, like, I find that the more I drop the labels, then the more I can allow everything to come in.
If I may add, for me, I never felt, well, I was having anger in mind mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps because for years I was unable to feel anger in the first place. And I think it took me a lot of time to start redirecting the attention from self-pity or or for just pure melancholy to something that is also more dynamic, you know, because it also comes from, it's not self-generated, it comes from a stimuli, and then you try to see its positions and then assess it as an emotion. So I think that sometimes when I tried to meditate in the past, it didn't work because I didn't feel it that out there so that I can bring it down. But anyway,
I can also speak a little bit more about that. Yeah, that's a great topic with the anger, for example. Like, then when I did this practice of not labeling it, then I just perceived it as just like raw energy, and it just became more like a power, and then it didn't even, the label anger didn't even make sense to me anymore, because that sounds like something negative, or usually how we associate it is as like a negative emotion. And now I feel like now I don't even divide my emotions anymore into, this is a positive emotion or this is a negative emotion, because I feel it's all just a flow of energy wanting to assist me, actually. And that this, I mean, what we call anger is just, it's like my body assisting me, like giving me this extra burst of energy to want to overcome a perceived challenge, to want to overcome something. And when I stopped labeling it, then it's like I can use that energy more there's like a more spaciousness around that energy, and not such a reactive acting it out. Because it's like with anger, like we have learned so many things, like from other people that we've seen angry, how they act, and then we start to act like them. And that whole story, and when I stopped labeling it, then it was just like pure energy being available to me, and it can be directed in any way. I mean, I still might say something, but it comes from more like a rested place. And I actually now I'm really comfortable. It's like before I wasn't comfortable in that energy. It's like I wasn't like comfortable being powerful. I wasn't comfortable staying in that power, and now I can just like enjoy it, like ooh, this like rush of energy. And yeah, and now it's has become something beautiful. It's just like I often use that metaphor, like if there's like a beer mother, for example, who's protecting her babies, and if someone comes near to her, like she will have that fiery energy, will have that power, right? What we call anger. But in a way, it's her love. It's her love for her children. And so in the same way now, I see that or experience that energy more as like I want to help myself or protect myself. And yeah, now I can enjoy that. So that's a lot what I do with my clients is actually I help them enjoy the sensations that they didn't like. So whether it's the anger or like nervousness, and then they're starting to enjoy it, even this flow of energy, and then it's not a problem anymore. Yeah. Does that help?
Thank you for diving into that a bit more. I think it's a really interesting point. And maybe it doesn't require the label, but I guess it, the question is that, and I observe this also, like so many people, so many of us are really quite disconnected from feeling this in our body. And so there is a step that we kind of need to take first in a way to be able to feel the emotion in the body and to become aware of them, to embody them, to allow them to live them, to experience them fully, because we're so disconnected. And that's a protection mechanism in itself, that we've dissociated from feeling that rush of energy or whatever it is. And the label has probably helped us dissociating from it, because we just sort of put a stamp on it and then that's kind of dealt with and put into a little drawer or something. So, I feel like, especially in this modern lifestyle that we've managed to create for ourselves, we're conditioned to dissociate from our body and feeling all of this. So I guess that is quite a big step in the whole process. So that would be in my mind anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So usually I have with my clients like a two-step process. Like one is the like allowance of the actual energy in the body. I just say, yeah, just allow it to go crazy. Allow the emotions to flower in their full intensity. And then and then the other is not to label this energy or this emotion, and then it's beautiful. Like then it's like in a way it transforms, like this part that feels negative. Like in the past, I used to be so ashamed of experiencing that emotion. because I felt it's unspiritual or something like that. But like now, when I not label it, now it's actually easier for me because I don't, then it doesn't bring all the guilt feelings of all this other associated stuff with it. And I feel like everything within me is the life force energy. So whether I call it sadness or fear or anger, it's all like this life force energy actually wanting to assist me. That's, yeah, more and more it just became perceived as like a flow of energy.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? I've just also posted the link into the chat, which I will also send out to all of you who will be watching this on replay, about Julien's work, how to get hold of him for one-to-one sessions with him, which is really how he mostly works with people. But Julien, I know you also have 1 or 2 group meetings every week. Do you want to just share the details for that?
Yeah, at the moment I don't have them so regularly, but on the, people can just contact me. Let's see, on the, I'm just checking out the website. There's probably my website. Okay.
Yeah, people can get hold of you through the Tulu Yoga Space website. That's no problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then I can add you to WhatsApp group. I can, and then I can let you know when I do meetings. I don't do them so regularly anymore, the group sessions. Yeah, and I also wanted to give an example, like maybe to make it really practical, like with what I was shared with the emotions and stuff, because I even made an experience of doing this with like physical pain. And that's often very interesting for people because that's seems even more real and solid, like than the emotions. So I had an experience where I had a big surgery on my leg, because my leg wasn't entirely straight, and then afterwards, like, there was a lot of pain. And by that time, I had already practiced this since many years, just like not describing things, not labeling things. So I tried it out even with the physical pain. And it was so amazing that, and I had already experienced that a few times before when I felt sick and stuff, to experiment with not labeling it, not labeling the pain. And in that moment, when I stopped even calling the sensation, the physical sensation in my body, pain, if I removed that label, which again had so much negativity attached to it, like I actually became to experience even the pain as like a warm, glowing energy within my body. And even though there was really intense pain, like 10 out of 10, like I actually started to find even enjoyment and peace within this experience. So it's so amazing, because like sometimes maybe what I'm saying sounds a little bit like a mental, like just a mental thing, like, oh, I'm not describing things, or like it's just some mental trick, but it goes really so deep, because it's like this, our stories, our underlying beliefs about things of good and bad, that really shape our experience and completely. And so this is possible even with physical pain, to find that I found relief therein, even in the midst of raging pain that was that was pulsating. I could even find relief and freedom, suffering there. So I just want to share that, to make it really practical, like how powerful this actually is.
Yeah, that's a great example of how there just is no separation. The body and mind are not two separate things. Thank you so much, Julien, for your time today. Please, everybody, do get in touch with him to explore that more deeply, or join us at Little Yoga Space at some point for all the other beautiful practices that we've got going on. Thank you so much for everyone's time live here, as well as to everyone taking the time watching this later on recording. And once more, Julien, thank you for all of your wonderful work and your sharing and your time today.
Thank you so much, Katrin.
Take
Thank
care,
you
everyone.
for coming.
Try to keep really cool in this hot weather. I'll see you soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.